Hi, I'm Don Winkley with the Brookfield Museum and Historical Society. I have been a Brookfield resident for the past 50 years and have been a past president and current board member of the Museum and Historical Society. Our main purpose is to record and to document the history of the town of Brookfield, and we encourage all citizens to be involved in that effort. We're a strictly volunteer organization and have done a lot of historical research for the town. Give you a little bit of history of the town of Brookfield. For the past several hundred years, if not 10,000 years prior to the 1700s, this land was occupied by the indigenous people, what we call Indians. In the late 1600s, early 1700s, it was recognized for its clear streams and open fields, and so it was used for farming, and the water was used for power works of various types. In the 1700s, all people had to go to church on every Sunday. You worked 6 days, but everyone was required to go to church. In 1754, the people of the area applied to the General Assembly to establish a congregational church in Brookfield. The congregational churches in all communities were not only the center of worship, but they were also the center of the government. And so wintering rights were granted in 1754, and the Reverend Thomas Brooks was made rector of the parish of Newberry. The first church was erected pretty much on this same site, and after several years of controversy, in 1788, the town of Brookfield was finally incorporated. It was incorporated as a part of Danbury, New Fairfield, and New Milford. So pieces of it were cut out of all three of those towns to form what we now know as Brookfield. The church has thrived since then. There was a lot of controversy about who it should be named after, and finally it was decided that the town would be named the town of Brookfield after the Reverend Thomas Brooks. So it has existed for the past 225 years as the town of Brookfield.
The president of the Brookfield Museum and Historical Society for the past 10, 11 years. And I've lived in town here about 35, so I know a little bit about Brookfield. The building we are looking at now was originally built in 1875 as the town hall. Now, prior to that, there was another building there because the town was formed in 1788, and in 1796 they built the original town hall structure, and that lasted until about 1873 when they started to fabricate this new one, and it much larger. And when they built it too, they the bell tower up on top in 1875, that was the only active bell in the town. The churches, the Congregational Church and the Episcopal Church didn't have their bells up yet, so that bell up there was used to call town meetings and for the churches, a variety of things for quite a number of years. And it is still functional, believe it or not. Now, the building itself that there is now up there, as you see it on the thing, like I say, was town hall, and they had their town meetings there. And in the lower portion of it was what the town clerk had her office between there and her own home. Viola Weidlich was her name, to be specific on the thing. And it's not a very big room down there. The way they heated it was just an old wood stove, believe it or not, at that time. And then finally, that stayed that way, and because there's a big steel walk-in vault downstairs there that they used, and plus the town treasurer, until they moved into the new town hall, which ironically is this building right here. So that was you can see that structure right there was opened in 1950. And what it replaced is what you see it today there, replaced what was the Brookfield one-room center school for a number of years on the thing, okay? And they took it down and put all around it the cement structure that you see there today. So the town function, as far as the town hall activities, all moved across the street into that building, which it served as the town hall then from from 1950 to 1983 when they opened the new building down on Pocono Road. This structure here then, they wanted something, so what they did is they made it into the what is the museum today. They made it into the Joyce Memorial Library. The T. Clark Joyce donated the money to refurbish the museum into what we have there today. And it stayed as the town library then till 1975. The library moved down to on the corner where it is right now on 25 and Long Meadow Hill at juncture. And then 2 years later, the Historical Society took it over and has been leasing it ever since. It served very well. We've almost outgrown it. The toughest part of that building is having been built in 1875. There's no elevators in it, and it's not too handicap accessible. So when we have large turnouts that we would expect on a thing, we will run them. We do them at the Brookfield Library down in the community room, which works out. However, what we do have over there, we share a lot of the records with the town library as far as what we have. People come up and they do an extensive research on genealogy. We've got folders on families clear back into the 1700s that a lot of them come up and they can look forward into. We also have countless files on old houses from Brookfield. Oh, clear back into the 1700s, up and down all around here. Because there's quite the history, you know, we've got in pictures. The roads on but the building, we have, you know, we got plenty of parking space out back, but it needs some. But there's a lot of information that we have, and I'll just show this. This book here, written by Marilyn Whittlesey a few years ago before she retired and went up to Maine, a third book. It's got extreme detail of everything you'd want to know about Brookfield from 1740s clear up to about 1900 and 2000, I should say. And it's quite extensive on there. So we've got plenty that they can come and see in there, and we'd love to have them. And we try to have a program during the year. The building itself is only open on Saturdays, but we have usually the first Monday of every month on a thing, we've got some type of a program put on by noted speakers. A lot of it we've got on the Civil War and World War II and anything on veterans programs we have done in there. We're doing, okay? So I'll wrap up on that, and you can see it's quite an old building, and it's
Brookfield a long time. My father was born here in town, just up the hill from the station here. This is the Ironworks, officially the Ironworks District. This is one of the districts, the school districts of Brookfield. It's called the Ironworks because at one time there was a iron foundry here. Back in, I guess back in the 1700s. In this area, I think there was some iron mined. There was quite a bit of limestone mined, which was used in iron process. Of course, these iron shops are all gone now, but there are still some shops left in the town. The railroad came through here back in the 1830s. It's been changed a number of times. It used to run next to the store, and now it's been changed, it's been modernized. Now when they built the station, the store was moved. And across the street is the grist mill, which they ground grain for everybody in the area. They ground corn, wheat, flour, whatever they needed, cattle feed, poultry feed. It was quite an operation. The railroad tracks used to run approximately where the road is now. They're on just to the side of that little red building over and back. And that was the road where the tracks went. And I think it was about the 1920s sometime, they changed everything around. They double tracked the railroad. They built the station here and moved what's now the store, moved it over next to the river where it is. So it's just changed a lot in the last 100 years or more. The grist mill, that was quite a bit larger at one time. There was an addition that came out almost to where the road is. That's long gone. There was a dam that they used for water power just over the bank. That was taken out right after the flood in 1955. They dynamited it to keep the flooding down. What else? Now the road, what's now 25, used to come down right where that driveway is, where that car is parked. It came right down the hill, crossed the tracks here, and went down by the store and across the river. And when they built when they changed the railroad around, they double-tracked it. They moved it over, put the station in. Then they changed everything and put the bridge in, put the railroad bridge in. And then that bridge.
and I am from Brookfield, and I am one of the authors of the book on Candlewood Lake, the Images of America series. Myself and Gary Smallin decided to write this book because there had never been a pictorial photo book of Candlewood Lake. And at this point, we are standing outside of Candlewood Inn looking north on the lake, and I wanted to explain a few things about the lake if I could. But this, looking out at the lake now, this was all a rocky river valley. It was very quiet. It was farmland nestled in the community. In the foothills, this is the Berkshire Mountains looking eventually across. But in July of 1926, the Candlewood Connecticut Light and Power Company's Board of Directors, they had approved a plan to create a lake for the purpose of producing electric power. And it was a decision that changed the face of the valley forever. Plans moved very quickly, and the company bought the valley land, and they built several dams to contain all of the water. In February of 1928, the fill-up began. And in just 7 months, Candlewood Lake was born. And from there, and if you look out at the lake now, as I said, we're looking northbound, and we're outside of Candlewood Inn. But the lake itself, it became the largest lake in Connecticut. The surface area has about 8.5 square miles, which is equal to 5,500 acres. It is almost 11 miles long, and it's about 2 miles wide at its widest point. People ask all the time how wide and how many miles of shoreline we have, and we have about 60 miles of shoreline on Candlewood Lake. It's 85 feet deep at its deepest point, and it averages, I believe, around 30 feet. The water can be pumped from the Housatonic River to the Candlewood Lake, and it has 2 pumps at a rate of 3,700 gallons per second. So when you look at this, when you look out at the lake that we're looking northbound now and across the lake to New Fairfield, you'll see that in a mere, I think it was from February of 1928 to September of 1928. When the lake was completely pumped up, it reached an elevation of 429 feet. And looking across here to Candlewood Shores, that at one time was part of New Fairfield. And back in the 60s, because the bus rides and the bus drivers had to go all the way around, pick up the students and take them all the way over to New Fairfield schools, they decided to make this part of Brookfield. So this became part of Brookfield back in the 60s. But if you look around, and this encompasses 5 towns as well. We have the towns besides Brookfield, we encompass New Fairfield, Sherman, New Milford, Danbury. So it's Brookfield, New Milford, New Fairfield, Sherman, and Danbury. So it's encompassing 5 towns within the lake. So if you look out, it's a wonderful, wonderful lake. It's now recreational as well as profit making. And around the lake in the 50s is really when everything started building up as far as cottages were concerned. And now some of these cottages have become houses. And they've built up all around the lake over the years. And there's boating almost all the time on the weekends and during the week as well. So come out and enjoy the lake. So again, thank you so much for coming out today and looking over the lake. The lake is behind me, as you see, and it's a terrific lake. It's one of our best things we have here in Brookfield, and we love it. We take care of it. We do the best we can, and we'll see you on the lake. Sherman, one going up through New Milford. The Candlewood Isle is an isle by itself almost, with a causeway going across. And then the Shores is almost like a little island. That's on this side. This is Candlewood Shores is the one that we talked about that at one time was part of New Fairfield. And the school buses, etc., had trouble getting around all the way from New Fairfield to Candlewood Shores. So Candlewood Shores in the 50s became part of Brookfield. And this goes all the way down to the bay, they call it Danbury Bay, but it's actually another finger of the lake, as well as Squan's Pond is over on this side. The other side of New Fairfield is Squan's Pond. So it's spread out nicely, and as I said, it's 60 miles of shoreline. And you'll notice different, again, this is Vaughn's Neck, which is owned by the power company. And there are no homes on this, but the homes are all pretty much all around different parts of the lake. I believe there are 127 different homeowners association around the lake. But I thought this was a wonderful map. This photo was taken from the old farm building, which became Candlewood Lake Club, clubhouse in 1931. But the picture was probably in 1928. As the lake started to form. And if you look out here, this same tree is outside, and this was a bridge that went across, and that's still underground now, under the water. And that went from here, and you're looking across to Vaughn's Neck. The same thing in the photo. You look right across to Vaughn's Neck.
My name, of course, is John Furlong. I'm the president of the Brookfield Museum and Historical Society. And we're down here at Lake Lillinois. And this lake, Lillinois, was formed by in 1955, June of 55. Well, they'd started the bridge opened up, as you see there. They replaced that bridge in and there was the old bridge was down here, coming across is about in there, the old roadway was. This is the new roadway, the bridge, and we have a man by the name of Kermanik was the last mail run over the bridge was June 18 of 1955. And Long Lake, which we know today as Lake Lillinois, which they did. Now, they had planned to open the dam, the lake to flood in about November of 1955. But in August the 18th there of 1955 came along Hurricane Diane. And as what you see, within a 24-hour period, it went from a raging river and it filled the entire lake, 19 miles long. Now that bridge that you see right there, those pillars, when they built that, it was about 88 feet above what was then the river level, and they were to fill it up. So what is below the bridge there today is 60-foot deep water. And if you can appreciate how much water it took to fill this entire lake in 24 hours, it's utterly unbelievable. The main problem at that time that CL&P had is the dam that is down, the Chapag Dam down there. They didn't intend to open it until November, and the cement had not thoroughly cured. So they, in that hurricane went through, they feared that the dam might collapse, but it did, it held, and about the only thing, the concern they had, there was a bunch of stuff buried down under there. I think there's an old cement plant that they even made on it. But we've got some pictures at the museum if somebody wants to see them of the construction of that dam. And the lake itself, they had prepared over a period of about 10 years. They had it, matter of fact, what they had to do is during that period of time, they bought up all the land along here, and in it was the town of Southville. So what you see straight across over there, there was a town of 34 structures, homes, even a school. And there was people right up to, they were getting rid of the last of the homes in 1955 when this closed, you know, when it flooded. So it's quite a history of that lake all the way down. But it's and the lake itself, Lillinois, comes from the name of, she was the Princess Lillinois, and she was the daughter of Chief Warramug, the head of the Putatuck tribe up near New Milford on a thing. So and the tribe stayed around here until, not in this mediator, but north of here until, roughly 1740s, 1750. So she died before that. But anyhow, it's named after her. So it's quite a history and quite a bridge. And there's all kinds of information at the Brookfield Museum and Historical Society if you want to come and get details on all, and the last mailman that went across the bridge in June of '55. Thank you.